and welcome to the first episode of Year-Round Halloween. I'm here with my two special guests, Mr. Evans, who is an AP Literature teacher at Chesapeake High School, and I'm with Amika Reed, who is a student at Chesapeake High School. Today in this podcast, we're going to be basically talking about some theories about the famous author and poet Edgar Allan Poe, and I would like to ask Mr. Evans just his thoughts on maybe the first short story called The Black Cat.
Yeah, what was the name of the podcast again? I'm sorry.
It's called Year-Round Halloween.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, that's kind of like I think we're doing The Black Cat. That's definitely like full-time Halloween. I mean, this guy's a creep. I really like the character in it, and I like the role of the Black Cat. I like how the cat interacts with the guy. This was a great poem. Or I guess it's a story. It's not really a poem, is it?
I would call it a short story.
Yeah,
short story. Yeah. It's kind of poetic at times in like a real creepy way, but I liked it. What are your thoughts about it?
So I had the theory that I thought the cat Pluto was like the first cat, and then we had the cat Truth, which was the cat that came after Pluto, and I thought actually that cat was a version of Karma because he has the similarities of Pluto and has the same aftermath appearance as Pluto, but he ends up exposing how the old man like went insane and committed a murder.
That's really interesting. So you're saying that it's not like an actual cat, it's not like an entity of its own, it's more of like a reflection of the past or something? What do you mean by karma?
I think the cat Truth is basically a symbol for like karma or like your past catching up to you.
Okay. What do you think of like the fact that it has like a guillotine a gallows on it? It's got like this white spot on it?
Oh yeah, it's like the inverted version of Pluto. I remember that.
So it's got like a gallows, right? That the man sees. It's got like this one mark on it. So the gallows is like the hanging, right? And he hung the first cat, Pluto, right?
Yeah.
But presumably this man's like on the way to get hung or something also at the end of the story, right?
Yeah, because he gets arrested after they find his wife in the cellar wall.
What do you think of the gallows there? What role does that play? Is it like part of Truth, the cat? What is it?
I think that's actually an interesting point. I didn't catch the gallows part when I was like thinking of this, but now that you say that, I do think that's almost like not time repeating itself, almost like history repeating itself just to a different version. Because like you said, he hung Pluto, and now he's potentially going to be hung himself because he killed someone else.
Do you think that the cat has any agency? Like, did the cat make it happen, or did the man make it happen to himself?
I think the man made it happen to himself because I mentioned in my first theory how he doesn't feel guilty for hurting the cat. He was mad about the outcome of what he did, so that was why he felt guilty and not because he just hurt an innocent animal.
Would you say that his tone is anger? You said he's mad.
I think it's like anger, there's a little bit of sorrow within it, and then I think there's just pure, he might be a psychopath, but...
Right? Like, I mean, it's just so weird that he's like jealous or something, right? Like, he gets like frustrated with the cat, like, he's got some kind of weird... his anger is like an anger that I don't empathize with, you know? I could be a pretty angry person at time, and I get frustrated, maybe, I don't know. But like, this is not the kind of anger that I understand in my life. He's like upset that the cat is like just around. He's upset that the cat like reminds him of things. And then he just like casually pulls out a knife and like pops out his eye. Like, I mean, what kind of anger is this? I mean, it's weird the way that he talks to the audience too. It's almost like he's confessing that he knows it's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And he knows, like, his anger did something really weird.
But he gets cocky about it.
Yeah, right? What do you think of his tone?
I think his tone to the audience was, like you said, a confession. Now, whether or not it was Edgar Allan Poe himself or if he was just going into, like, a different mindset of a character, I'm not sure. But I do think he comes off very cocky towards the end because he's even like, oh, yeah, let the authorities come into my basement, like, see, nothing's in here. And then...
Truth is like screaming in the end. I like the way that it described the cat as just like
screeching.
Yeah, just like a screeching demon or whatever. And I don't know, it's really visceral the way that it talks about like the body just like popping out of the wall. Kind of a gross poem or story, I guess, at the end. Do you think that the man changes in the story, or is he the same throughout?
I think he stays the same throughout because his reaction when Truth was behind the wall, you didn't really see his reaction.
Well, when he was young, he said he really loved animals, And he really liked this cat once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
I don't know. What do you think Edgar Allan Poe was trying to do, aside from just mess with us?
I don't know. Like I said, I think it might be a confession, but I'm also not 100% sure. And Micah, you got any input?
For Edgar Allan Poe, like what he's trying to do, he might be showing maybe like a power thing of like he can make you like do all this and like have this in-depth conversation. Like he kind of is that guy that can mess with your mind.
So you guys think that the author is kind of in this story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, Edgar Allan Poe was a drunk.
I think he incorporates himself into all his stories, whether it be him or like his time period. Because even in like The Mask of the Red Death, it has a lot of references to either like a disease or like a plague catching up to everybody. Because like I mentioned in here, there's a tall masked figure in The Mask of the Red Death, and I said that was Death himself. And throughout that story, the figure's chasing like the rich through this ginormous house of different colors. And they finally get to this like black apartment, and that's where they stop running. They don't have anywhere else to go.
Do you like this poem or his story?
With The Mask of the Red Death?
Yeah. You a fan of this one?
Yeah, I like it.
I like how it talks about privilege at the start.
They were like hiding from this thing that you can't hide from, and then
Yeah, that's really cool too. You know, that just like the inescapable, the sense of, you know, it's gonna happen. Doom is coming, right? I love how like in the first like page or two of this, it's just talking about, oh, once upon a time there were a bunch of rich people who just built a nice big house so they could protect themselves from the poors and all the poor problems. I just love how real that is. How like people really just construct barriers against things that they're just ill-equipped to face. But it's coming. You know, it's coming.
you can't escape it.
They like obviously built that so that nothing bad does happen, but it's kind of like, I guess, like irony with it, because even with this, even though it's like a different problem than like being poor, it's like regardless of your privilege or not, something can catch up to you, and it will catch up to you no matter, like there's nothing you can do to protect yourself from that.
What do you think you're supposed to feel about that
Like,
as a reader?
I mean, it's like one of those things where it was like the last guy was being cocky, and like this one is don't get too cocky, because then it'll hit you right back in the face 10 times harder. Because like, would you rather deal with running away from an entity, or would you just rather deal with not having any money? It's like, pick your poison.
I take the money.
I love the last paragraph in this. It's like it's gotta be some of the best writing. Like, period. I don't know. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but it's so good.
And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all.
I just love like the role of time in it, right? So it's like, death is here. You got to acknowledge it. It came, and there's nothing anybody could have done to stop it. And they were having fun, but now we're in the blood-bedewed halls. That's so crazy. Like, blood-bedewed. That's like
creepy.
That's a powerful piece of imagery right there with just 2 words. Well, you know, I guess it's 3 words technically, and that last sentence, darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. That is like really a creepy sentence, and it's very dark and like
Disturbing.
It's disturbing. It's almost like, am I supposed to have like been cheering for Red Death? Like, held illimitable dominion over all. Like, we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
You know, and how are you gonna stop Red Death? Right? Like, we knew it was coming, and just the way it ends, held illimitable dominion over all. It just kind of sounds like
You're supposed to idolize this entity.
It just sounds so powerful.
Like, no matter what, the Red Death will always come out on top. Like, no matter how much you fight back, it's already like it will like watch you fight back, but it's already over you to where there's nothing you can do to get above.
Kind of gives me chills, to be honest. I mean, so it's a story about privileged people who like throw a big party because they don't want to deal with all the poors and their problems, and then the inevitable happens, and it holds dominion over all forever and always because you can't get away from it. Is that am I wrong to see that as triumphant?
No, I wouldn't say it was, because I would see it as that too, basically, that the Red Death is like the most powerful. It's like these rich people like might think that like they're the most powerful thing in the room because they're the richest, they're not the poor. The poor is locked out, so they think that in that moment they have the power status, but all along it's actually the Red Death coming to get them, and that no matter what, they will never be as powerful as it.
It's just like such an apocalyptic view of like kind of the truth of the layers in our society that are like right in front of us right here.
Yeah.
Sadly, that is all the time we have. Wanted to thank my two lovely guests, Mr. Evans and Amika.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Never been called a lovely guest before.
We'll see you all next time on the next episode of Year Round Halloween.